We're live here on the Weekend Sports Show alongside Sam Goldberg. I'm Zach Simon. We've got a guest here today to talk some Sixers hoops and the recent events surrounding the team. Keith Pompey, Sixers beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. You can follow him at Pompey on Sixers on Twitter. Is kind enough to give us a few minutes of his time. How you doing today, Keith?
Man, I'm doing well. Funny, I'm in a snowstorm in April in Philly, so it's a great time.
Tis the season, the snow showers in April sneak up on you. But nonetheless, the Sixers dropped another one last night in New York to the Knicks, 102-109, and it felt like a game they could have won. However, Robert Covington had a career-high 30 points, 11 rebounds also. He's only 25 years old, and Zoom pointed something out, friend of the show, by the way, pointed something out on the broadcast, and he said, Covington's now driving to the basket. I'm curious, what do you think of this guy's future going forward? He's only 25, like I said.
I mean, I think he's an NBA player. I think that he can become a keeper. I think he is a keeper. I don't think that for the Sixers long term, that right now they're looking at him as a starter. That's not to say that he can't become a starter. But at this particular time, I mean, I just don't see it. Now, the one thing, you're talking about him driving, but I think another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that he's a way better defender as well. His game has improved. When he first joined the Sixers, he was just primarily a shooter.
Right.
But now he's driving and he's playing a defense. But I don't know at this particular time when they get better and they start trying to win games and then bringing in people, I don't know if he's going to keep that starting small forward spot.
Okay, he's definitely a guy that the team can hang their hat on, though. Like you said, he has a future in the league. Now, obviously, there's been much news. I know you had your column, Deep Sixer. Well, the Sixers are in some deep doo-doo right now because Sam Hinkie is out. My goodness, yeah, I just went there. Sam, my co-host, is rolling his eyes at me. Anyway, Sam Hinkie is out to the surprise of many in this town. This town couldn't even savor a Villanova championship for a week. Very disruptive. I'm just curious, Hinkie had a direction. What improvements have you seen that you feel are notable during the Sam Hinkie era?
Well, that's a tough question to answer because like if you want to talk about on-court improvement, that wasn't the process. The process was about acquiring assets, getting draft picks, and saving cap space. So if you want to basically, look at it that way, he did what he was supposed to do. Now, I would think the only thing that Hinkie probably didn't do, if he wished, or the Sixers wish he would have done a better job, was just his relationship with people. His relationship with the media, I didn't have a problem with him, but his relationship overall with the media, his relationship with agents, and his relationships with general managers. But in regards to, as far as, winning games, I mean, hey, this was a 3-year tank. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Keith, Sam here. Good to hear from you again, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
And just a little plug, reminder, we are talking to Keith Pompey. He's the Philadelphia Sixers Inquirer beat writer. Keith, thanks again for joining the program. Keith, I actually follow you on Twitter. Feel free to follow me back at HebrewHammer814. And I notice you post your favorite broad burgers when you're on the road traveling with the team. Keith, I love that segment you do. What was your favorite burger you ever had, and what city was it in?
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, because to be honest with you, the favorite burger I had, and it's funny because it was called the New York Burger, but it was in Houston.
Oh,
Don't
interesting.
ask me why. New York Burger in Houston, but that was probably the best burger. And then I went to San Antonio, and they had a pretty good one. It was weird though because at first I was like, dude, I'm not fitting jelly on my burger, and they were like, you have to try it, and then that one was second.
Oh my gosh. Well, Keith, you haven't done it in a while. Are you on a diet or something? I'm missing the burger pics.
Dude, that first year on the beat eating burgers, I gained like 20. And it was funny because I was trying to keep it away from like my family members that I was like eating all these burgers because like you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. And one day, like one of them followed me on Twitter. And it was like, what the heck? So this year I was trying to do a salmon burger, but it really didn't work out.
Keith,
salmon a test, but it really didn't work out.
You got to sacrifice the weight and bring back the burger thing because I miss seeing your burgers. But listen, on a more serious note, you're around the team more or less more than anyone there in the complex. You're there every day. You're interviewing people. Did you have any idea or any indication or gut feeling that Hinkie was going to walk away from, this masterpiece that he was attempting to create?
Yeah, you kind of knew it. No one knew that it was going to happen the way that it did, meaning, like him sending them a letter at this particular time. But once Jerry Colangelo came on board, you kind of sensed that, Hinkie would lose his power. And sometimes people were thinking that they probably were going to let him go. Now, they didn't want to let him go because, again, he is a great asset to the organization. But I guess, the fact of him losing his power, in which he was going to lose his power, I kind of figured that it wouldn't work out well in the long run. Because let's face it, a lot of people can say what they want about Sam Hinkie, but he was doing what he was told to do. Now, could he have had better relationships with people, as we pointed out earlier? Of course. But as far as, like, tanking, tearing it down, acquiring assets, that's what Hinkie was paid to do when he did that.
Again, we're here with Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Keith, speaking of acquiring assets, the Sixers have the best chance they've ever had at getting a first overall or a second overall pick in the upcoming draft lottery. Hypothetically speaking, the Sixers do get the number 1 overall pick, assuming you're on the Simmons Ingram bandwagon. Who would you prefer they take, Ben Simmons or Brandon Ingram?
It's weird. I think that both of them are good players. And I know, like, a lot of people say that, Ben Simmons, he can't shoot, he can't do this, he can't do that, But at the end of the day, I believe that he'll be the better pro 10 years from now. Like when people sit back and they look at careers, I think that Ben Simmons will be the best. The thing about Ben Simmons is that he can play a lot of different positions. He can be a distributor for their team, and he has some stuff that I think that that comes along. Not too often, like a Kevin Durant or LeBron James or Magic Johnson. Stuff like that with his height and his length and some of the things he can do. Now, again, I know Brandon Ingram is going to be a solid ball player too, but I just think that the other guy is just going to be special.
Yeah, Keith, I totally agree. I concur with everything you just said. Thanks again for your time, man. And remember, the Hebrew Hammer 814 if you want to follow back, and we can go get a burger together sometime. I'm going to hand the phone back to Zach now.
All right, man.
Keith, yeah, and I'm just going back off the burgers real fast. Is there a local burger you recommend to the listeners?
You know what, and I feel bad to say that, but when I did that, the burger tour was just basically stuff on the road,
Right.
And so I really, it's funny, man, like I really don't eat hamburgers that much. It's just that whenever I went on the road, I started. Now, and when I eat it at home, when I eat it here, it's kind of like a chain type of thing. So, like, I like Five Guys whenever I go, like, once every 9 months or something like that. So, yeah, it's really, I would be gypping people by, like, man, hey, go here, go to Five Guys. Not saying Five Guys isn't good, because it is, but it's not like a local burger.
I hear you. And I admire the fact that as a fellow big man, that you dropped the burger thing altogether, and you dropped even faster the salmon burger thing, because let's be real, that's not happening. But going back to the Sixers, Allen Iverson was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in what was quickly looking, before this Hinkie news came out, in a week that was quickly looking like the greatest basketball week in Philadelphia history. Allen Iverson, so dynamic. Just the guy can. Oh my goodness! My peers put it best when they say he's going to be the player we tell our grandkids about. It's just the truth. Now, is there a current player in the league not named Steph Curry that you feel can electrify the crowd in a similar manner than Allen Iverson can? Could rather.
Wow. You know what? And the thing is, I think Damon Lillard has the potential to. And what I mean by that is, he's a little guy. He can, he's a point guard. He can light up a gym when he has to. Now, I don't know if he's quite there yet. I mean, he's shown some glimpses, but I think that he's going to be something special. And when I look at that, you talk about Allen Iverson, the love affair that the Sixers fans have had for him, the love affair that he had in the city of Philadelphia. It's the same thing with Steph Curry. And then they got to a point to where they both became, national. Like they became household names, and everywhere they went, they start selling out arenas. That's why I said Dame Lillard isn't there quite yet, but I think he will be there.
That's a good pick. I like that. He really is very exciting. He's one of those guys. He's very dynamic. I agree. I want to get back into Sam Hinkie. Now, obviously, the team and the management didn't necessarily like where things were going. I personally thought the tank was still in its infantile stages. If you gave that thing another 2 years, yes, it's gruesome, it's painful. But if you gave that thing another 2 more years, you really could see something special develop down the road. Now I'm curious, though. Hindsight is 20/20, sure. But is there a decision that the Sixers made that you would undo? Because I have one, and I want to share it with you after you let me know.
The one thing is they didn't go after. Well, what they did is I think they kept trying to acquire too many assets as opposed to helping out the roster. Because the problem is like when you look at what they have compared to what the Boston Celtics have, is not even close. I mean, there's $9 million of guaranteed money next year that separates them. That's it. I mean, and when you look at what the Celtics have, they traded and got an all-star point guard in Isaiah Thomas. They have a lockdown defender and a 2-guard in Avery Bradley. And they have, with Jay Crowder as a nice wingman who's another solid defender and rebounder.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you look at these guys and you say to yourself, like, are they superstars? No. I mean, I know the one guy, the point guard, is an all-star. However, they have a lot of cap space to where they can go out there and give out 2 max salaries and go get a Kevin Durant or go get someone else, right? What the Sixers did, they focused on draft picks and acquiring assets and cap space, and they did it to a point whereas Boston has more draft picks than them. And the Sixers have 3. Boston has somewhere like ridiculous, like 9 this year.
Wow.
And so, you know what I mean? So I feel like, the acquiring is great, but when you keep doing that, losing, players don't want to come there. Talking about free agents because they don't know who's going to be there. But what Boston did is they have an all-star to play with. They have an Avery Bradley, they have a Jay Crowder. These are guys who don't want to take the shot.
Right.
So you can easily slide in a hired assassin, so to speak, to come there, and he knows he's going to be the man. So that's where, in my opinion, where they messed up.
Okay, I hear you. And yeah, the Celtics are in a good place. They have a great coach in Stevens, and Thomas is a special player. I absolutely agree. Okay, so you're the Sixers on draft day. The lottery doesn't work out for you. You get the second pick. Ben Simmons goes 1. Who are you taking at number 2?
Well, I think you got to take the guy we were talking about. You got to take the guy out of Duke. What was his name?
Ingram.
Ingram. You got to take Brandon Ingram. You have to. I mean, I like. In my opinion, right now is like it's 2 players that's going to go 1 or 2. It depends on who you decide, like 1 or 2.
Right.
After that, one GM may say I want to go Simmons, the other one may say I go Ingram. But then when it gets to 3, then that's when everything's going to change.
And who do you take there? Who do you take at 3?
See, I think it becomes situational. I mean, it does. Like if like you're hearing like this guy Bender from overseas, a lot of people are very high on him. I do not think the Sixers need to get him because they have too many bigs as it is right now. So I just think that it comes down to need right in there. What do you need? But I think if you have 1 or 2, I mean, you have to take one of those guys. And it's funny because, not to say that you don't want to be number one, but, like, at least if you get number two, you'll say, well, hey, I just got the guy that was available. If he didn't work out, he didn't work out. But if you get the number one pick and he's a bust, it's like, well, how come you didn't draft the other one? So if you're sitting at 1 or 2, you're sitting pretty.
Speaking of needs, Keith, we actually need to take a break right here at WHIP, and we just want to thank you on behalf of Sam and I. We're really appreciative of your time today. Thanks again for dropping by.
Thanks again, Keith.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on, fellas.
You the best, man.
We're happy to have you. All right, that was Keith Pompey, Sixers beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. We'll be right back here on WHIP, Philadelphia's #1 college radio station.